Awesome. Awesome. Well, we'll give it a few minutes for everyone to come in, and then we'll kind of get started into the meat of it. But yeah, we'll give it a couple of minutes before we go into it. While we do, Bethany, I guess it would be really good just to understand, dive a little bit deeper into like this whole world of like video prospecting a little bit. Before we go in, like the plan for today, everyone, is to go over some of the playbooks that we've been doing. We've been using Sendspark at Triggerfy. We've been doing video prospecting even before Sendspark for quite a while. I'm a big believer in it. And so it's really, really exciting to have Bethany with us today to talk about Sendspark. But maybe you want to give a little overview of what is Sendspark, I guess, actually. Let's start there.
Yeah.
And what you guys do. And I think you've got a pretty awesome roadmap ahead, right? Like, I don't know if you want to tease anything coming up this year as well, because that'd be quite exciting.
I will. I might get in trouble later, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, to introduce Sendspark, we're a video platform to make personalized videos at scale. So a bit of a backstory. Before starting Sendspark, my background is in marketing automation. And so I was working really closely with the sales team who were doing all types of outreach, like email outreach, LinkedIn outreach, et cetera. And we were trying to use video. And it just seemed like a missing part of the puzzle that you couldn't make a video dynamic the same way that you can add like first name, company name, et cetera, in an email.
Yeah.
And the limitation with that is then if you can't make a dynamic, you can't use it in your automations, like, not even just outreach, but even like lifecycle customer emails. So we set out to build SenseSpark. It's now been 5 years. I think everyone thinks we're like 2 months old, but we've been working on it for a long time to really make videos dynamic, scalable, but still keep the personalized component and, keep the spark that makes you, but still be able to get the great results video.
Nice. And that's the concept for the name, right? Sendspark, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, like it. And this year, like, I guess like how have you seen the like evolution of video prospecting? Because I guess it's like people, what I've noticed is when like I was running sales teams like in the past, people found it very, I guess, hard to get in front of a camera and like send people stuff. Like you seeing that changing? You seeing like people are more like open to kind of just simply record themselves, whether it's using yours or just a simple like kind of camera and sending it off to someone. Is that like changing now, or is this still
I
like
think it's changing. People are camera shy for sure, but things make it
yeah,
better. One is camera effects, like just I mean, I don't know if you're the same way. Like on Zoom, I have the like little blur on my face, and we put that in SenseSpark. Like we're like, why not? Like people
yeah,
are self-conscious looking at yourself. Why not just blur your face a little bit? It helps.
yeah,
So you have that level. One thing that I feel like the AI personalization has really unlocked because you're able to now get more from a single video. It's okay if it takes you literally 20 times to get it right. If you're trying to do a video for every person and then you keep messing up, it's going to make something reaching out to 20 people take the full day. But if
yeah.
you can just one video and then get more, bang for that buck, it's okay that it takes a little longer. So I think that's been a big unlock, and it was a surprise to be honest. But we'll see people who they make a good video and they're still sending that out in their outreach literally 6 months later because they like the video. So I think that just like stuff, yes, it's still hard, but at least it's a little easier with tech and you can get more from the work you're putting in because you can
Yeah.
automate.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, it's a really cool feature inside of SenseSpark, which is like it's dynamic. It's called dynamic video, right? That's the feature. Yeah. And effectively you can personalize a video to like 100 people at one time. So it'd be like, hey Bethany, hey Hugo, hey whomever, essentially, and deliver like a personalized message, which is awesome, right? Because it just gives it such a like a level of personalization. And I must say, I've tried a lot of these tools that have done like this level of like personalization using AI, and generally this one is we were a customer of SenseSpark before we even arranged this webinar, and it's awesome. It's really really good, the quality, because that's the hardest part to get right, I think, with these things. And like before we dive into some of the playbooks, one of the things that I've always kind of wondered, and I guess don't necessarily have the answers for, is do you, and like your own outreach, do you tend to go over kind of LinkedIn as like an outreach channel and put like a video in like a LinkedIn message? Do you go over email? Do you a bit of both? And if you do a bit of both, does the video style and content change depending on like the medium of the outreach channel?
The answer is yes, but not exactly for the reason that you might think. So we use email and LinkedIn, but we tend to do it more based on how did we identify that lead, and that I guess will tie into what we're talking about today. So when we're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, it's often just naturally the result of like LinkedIn signals we see. Like they're engaging with posts or they're doing certain signals on LinkedIn. And so we'll send those videos on LinkedIn versus email tends to be like much colder based on what we're doing, where like we are either, it's just cold outreach, they fit within our ideal customer persona, or maybe it's a lookalike audience because we get our lookalike audience contacts leads through Ocean, and then we'll enrich the
Yeah.
contact data and through email. So the messaging does end up being very different, but we're not like necessarily tailoring it to the channel as much as we're tailoring it to why are we reaching out to this person to begin with.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. That makes sense. Wicked. Well, I'm going to dive into a place. So, for those of you that don't know what Triggerfy is a social signal platform. Effectively, we can monitor social media and understand like when is the prime time to reach out to an individual based on a whole range of different signals, which we'll kind of cover in this sec. And we've been using Triggerfy, Clay, uh, Sendspark and HeyReach, funny enough. So we've been going over LinkedIn as like our primary channel recently. We've just find it's just performed so well, and we don't have to go through the rigmarole of kind of domains and all of that fun stuff with when it comes to email deliverability. And I'm gonna go over the playbook. That is basically we're getting Hugo. What are we getting from a reply rate perspective at the moment?
We're getting anywhere between 30 to 40% reply rate, and I mean some campaigns is different depending on who we target. We've had up to like 50% before.
Yeah.
The volume is obviously much lower, but the sort of response rate on that, and more specifically, positive response rate on that, is super high. So it's pretty powerful if used in the right hands, basically.
Yeah, and I've done it today where I've set Triggerfy up with the view pretending I was you, Bethany. So I've like designed it for like Sendspark and how I would think about using Triggerfy if I was Sendspark. But this is the exact same playbook that we'd use for ourselves essentially. Um, so the core concept about it, right, is like a social signal and why it like differs from like your typical intent signals and just general signals is social media is the only place where people are just themselves and they either like or comment or they perform an action purely based on their own selfish interest, which is whether you like social media or not, is like the ideal like bit of data point to latch onto because a funding round, if you're going to reach out to someone off the back of the funding round, it doesn't actually necessarily mean that the individual, i.e., the decision maker that you want to reach out to, wants to buy something as a result. However, if someone has engaged with content around, for example, video prospecting 3 or 4 times in the last 7 days, the last 14 days, there is a clear indicator that this topic area, so to speak, is of interest to them at this given time, given the fact that they are starting to interact with content around that. Or perhaps they're going to be interacting with some of Sendspark's competitors, right? Like Vidyard and people like that. And they're starting to increase the engagement in comparison to like previous periods of time. And so that's what we're effectively looking at with Triggerfy. So, for example, if we come over here, and what I did when I set up the account is I wanted to find anyone who was engaging with content around video prospecting in the last 30 days, right? And so we've had over 234 people when we've looked out at LinkedIn that have been engaging with content around like video prospecting. And so what I did was I used this and then I started to say, okay, well, hey, if I was Bethany, I would want to then basically just filter it down to like go after the kind of decent sized companies because I want to get like a large amount of user basis. I want a big sales team to use it because I'll crack through the amount of videos, which is obviously how Sendspark kind of does the pricing and everything like that. So we want to go for the larger companies. And so now we've narrowed it down to like 58 individuals. And of course, we could keep going with this, right? We keep going on and making it really super specific. From there, I could actually straight away I could push this through to Clay, which we do, and then you could start to reach out off the back of this. And I'm sure we're going to go into the type of copy perhaps that you would send Bethany off the back of some of these things and how you would do the messaging as well.
Mhm.
But that's like one use case, right? Which is finding people engaging with particular topics. In this case, it's really, really obvious. It's like video prospecting, but we could get a little bit more nuance and go like, hey, like, are they interacting with Clay? Because Sendspark is inside Clay and it works really well with Clay. Are they interacting with like sales automation or marketing automation systems as well? Because that would then be an indicator that they are and kind of engaging with those topic areas, so to speak. Um, what I then did, right, is I then actually took these leads and I basically just chucked them into our social signal platform because this is like now I wanted to find key people and I wanted to say, okay, hey, anytime these people are posting about video prospecting, anytime they're engaging with Vidyard as a competitor, anytime they're engaging with Vidyard sales team, so I've got all their enterprise account executives in here, let me know. And what's happening now is we're then starting to monitor these people. And it's basically telling me that they've done a post containing something related to video prospecting or sales or marketing, relevant keywords that I would want to do, of which we then push this data through to Clay, which is then where we start to use the kind of Sendspark outreach. And I'll show you like how we're doing that in a sec. But the last key thing before I kind of move on to the exciting part, which is the copy, right, and how we actually reach out to people off the back of this, is I think it's really fun to start like tracking competitors. So what I did is we started tracking all of like Vidyard inside of here, and one of the individuals, if I can remember his name, was here we go, Michael. It was the CEO of Vidyard, and I was thinking this is such a prime use case for you, Bethany, because we got about 700 leads here from Michael over the last night. And a lot of these leads, when I'm looking at them, are coming from like large enterprise companies where they're engaging with him multiple times, right? We can see some of these companies coming in here, who they are, and the actual content that they're engaging with as well. We can start to filter out like Vidyard and things like that. But
Yeah.
what I've done here is I then basically have set this up to automatically feed through to Clay, where we then start to use basically Sendspark inside of Clay. And we've got like different folders inside of Clay where we have like our kind of Sendspark competitors, topics, and you can have like your thought leaders and things like that that you then start to do in like the back end of that as well. But the idea and the kind of key thing about this and why I love kind of Triggerfy and Sendspark together is you're creating like evergreen campaigns, which basically means you're consistently prospecting. What happens today won't be the same tomorrow. We could prospect 100 people today. Tomorrow we prospect 5. The next day it could be 1,000. But it's all just depending on the actual data that we're effectively pulling through as well. And that's like the flow that we have. And then from here, we then start to use Sendspark to actually reach out. So I can give you our copy that we use. And then I'm really curious to hear like your thoughts on how you would leverage social data and yeah, go into it from there. But the copy that we use, and Hugo, correct me if I'm wrong, we basically reach out to individuals. For example, if like we're looking and noticing that they're engaging with the kind of CEO of Vidyard, we reach out to like Ashley, for example, and say, hey, Ashley, can see the video prospecting is of interest to you. And we do this through Sendspark, right? So it's like, hey, Ashley, hey, Andrew, etc. Can see the video prospecting is of interest to you. I've pulled together a couple page document on how we've basically got a 50% reply rate through using video prospecting. Do you want to see it? And then I say, PS, by the way, check out XYZ. They talk a lot about video prospecting, right? And so I could either reference you, Bethany, or I could go here and I could find anyone talking about video prospecting, because obviously you don't want to reference Vidyard in that aspect. And then say, okay, go follow Tim, for example, or Harris, because they talk some really good stuff around video prospecting. And it's like creates that kind of like mutual like connection and synergy, essentially. But that's the flow that we have up and running and going from kind of Triggerfy to Clay to Sendspark. Really curious though, like, have you ever used social data in your own outreach? If you have, like, how do you think about like approaching the actual style of messaging when it comes to it?
Yeah. So first of all, beautiful campaign. I hope we can get that Clay table with all those leads.
Yeah, well, I've done a full video, by the way, for everyone who's on this call and whoever signed up. I've done like a whole flow and playbook, which we will send after this.
Yeah. So I want to share some kind of tips on video content, and then I'll share some campaigns that we have going out. And they're the same concept, right? Where we're targeting people based on like posts or activities, not as efficiently as as this. So I really love, like, I'm going to update some of our stuff after this as well. But I think there's a few things to share about sending videos. Where we see people have the most trouble is they'll say, like, what is different about the video message versus the text message? And then kind of say the same thing in both the written text and the video. And so the video is not necessarily adding new value. So the way I would recommend structuring your video outreach is thinking of the text as like the hook that's getting them to watch the video. So you kind of like what Max was saying, like, saw you were interested in this, made a video to show you value or something unique. In that video, you then want one piece of value. Like, you're not trying to give your whole product demo in that video. You're trying to book demos. So it's just one thing that like shows why you're different than competitors or what they're doing now or how you can help, just like something to spark intrigue. And then you have the action to book the demo, like book the demo.
And do you find sort of going, is it better, or do you have any sort of data on like asking for a demo versus like, you know, pushing a lead magnet or anything like that? Like, is there anything that kind of, any best practices there?
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing is I said that because like title of this was booking demos, so I assume that's what your goal is. But the strategy does shift a little depending on what action you want. So, for example, if you want to book a demo, like have a really short video that's just that teaser. But if you're more of like a self-service product, or like you just want to like nurture marketing leads or something else, like that isn't your goal, then I would recommend a longer video. Like, actually at Sendspark, we do a mix, like for, you know, larger accounts, we do shorter videos to book demos. But then since we have like a lot of, you know, you can get a solo account, we'll have higher volume campaigns that actually have like more of like a 2-minute product demo with them. I actually have an example I'll show you guys so you can see the two different versions. So it does depend on what your goal is. And, you know, that's what you're trying to do. You know, you're not trying to send a video, you're trying to book demos, get signups, you know.
And do you see a sort of significantly like high, I mean, we know you do, but like in terms of like, you know, just a standard email versus a sort of video email, I mean, what's the sort of the difference from like a booked meeting perspective, like that you see in terms of like that uplift? Because I know it's, you know, video prospecting is still, I mean, there's quite a few companies now, but like this, it's still relatively new. Like, I mean, in terms of like, it's not sort of the standard, I'd say. And so I guess I'm curious to know like what that uplift looks like for people who do sort of take action and use it.
Yeah, like for us, what we're seeing across our customers is, I mean, it depending on like what your baseline is, where you're starting from. Sometimes it's a 20% lift. Other times it's like literally like 500% or infinite times because you're getting any before.
Right.
And
LinkedIn,
if you're, you know, you don't want to do too many messages on LinkedIn. Even if you can, like, it just feels spammy. But if you look at like email sequences, like, it's funny, our customers will show us like, you know, their 5-step campaign, and you know, all of the clicks and all the replies are the one with a video, even if that's not the first one. They're sending the second or third. So I'd recommend, if you're kind of like, does video work? Well, just, you know, put it as a step in your email sequence and see, and hopefully it will prove itself to you.
Yeah, that's an interesting point actually, because I guess the rather than, do you find people like lead with the initial email, like they don't put the video in there, they're putting it in like follow up 1 or 2, like where do you see that kind of going as part of a sequence?
Yeah, the reason for that is really email deliverability. Like, if you're doing cold email, you might just want to have like absolutely no links, no images, nothing in the first email to get
it clean.
Yeah. But with LinkedIn, we often see people lead with video, and I would recommend doing that, especially if like you don't want to send a ton of messages. If you just want to send one, like, you may as well make it a really impactful one and have a video that just, you know, shows that little spark.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool.
Well, why don't I show a couple videos? Also, I'm kind of keeping half an eye on this chat. So if anyone has like specific questions or anything specific you want to make sure I see, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just pull up some videos that we have going.
Yeah, we're monitoring.
Oh, one thing I was going to show as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm going to share sound with us. Give me 1 second.
Do you find as well that like the quality of the recording makes a big impact. Like if you've got a much sort of cleaner video versus sort of been shot and everything, do you think there's a big impact there, or it kind of doesn't make a huge difference?
I think it helps. I mean, it's not going to be make or break if you don't have a good system.
Mm.
Then I wouldn't say like don't send videos, but if you can, like especially lighting, I think makes the biggest difference. Like
Yeah.
lighting, clean background. For some reason, I'm not able, by the way, to share my screen with sound. So what I'll do is I'll just share my screen and then I'll post the videos in the chat so you guys can see them, by the way, because I don't want you to look at it. One thing I was also going to show, by the way, is just if you want to see you guys mentioned you have like 30 to 40% reply rates. Ours are like around 30. So that's just a little indication of video. But let me show a couple.
Throw a bit of social data in there. We'll get those numbers up. No worries.
No, but I definitely recommend this as a strategy. So this is a video campaign that we're sending out, and related to post engagement. Let me play one, and then just tell me if you can hear sound. I don't think you'll be able to though. Hey Rita, I saw you like. Do you hear anything or no? Oh, you do hear. Okay, cool. So the way that this is made really quick is in Sendspark, you record one video using the placeholder word watermelon. You can choose whether or not you want this to appear on someone's screen. You can set up a landing page with your calendar and all that, and then you can add your contacts. And then every person is going to get that video personalized for them. And I'm going to just play this so you can hear the full content. Here, I'll play it on a bigger screen. For like a little social campaign. Now, one thing that you'll notice in this video too is I do reference the post, and I know like there's a lot of advice to not do that and make it sound organic. I've never like mastered how to make it sound organic, so I just do. But I'll say like none of our stuff is perfect, but again, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. We're still getting great replies. Hey Rita, I saw you liked Kyle Poyer's post about growth tactics, one of them being automated video messages. So that's why I'm reaching out. Sendspark makes it easy to create AI personalized videos like this one and automate them in your sales and marketing outreach. I'd love to show you how it works. I'm going to add my calendar here, and hope to talk to you soon. All right, cheers. So that's one where like it's more of a teaser. The goal of that is to book a demo, and it's related to that post. I'll also compare that to another one that's more of a where the goal is more of like just showing the product and how it works. In this case, it's like a kind of a mini intro and then goes into a product demo. And this is one that we've been running. This is one that we've been running for like a longer time, and it has good results. And this is the starter video, by the way, so it's going to say watermelon. Hey Watermelon, thanks for taking a look at Sendspark. Our goal is to build the best video selling platform. So let me show you some of the superpowers that we've added in here for you. Sendspark makes it easy. I'm not going to play the whole demo, but you can see it's like the combination of like a little personalized intro and a demo. I actually made like kind of a playbook that I'll share too with just like tips to keep in mind. I know we said no slides on this, but let me show you. I'm gonna post this in the chat so you guys can all access this with just some tips. Right, I like mentioned like when to personalize and not to personalize. I think in general, like the rule of thumb is personalization is better unless it's going to risk breaking things. So like a lot of times you see people try to personalize everything, and then the company name will be wrong because it's like pulling in Pavilion instead of their actual job, or like job, but like LinkedIn makes it really long. So it's like personalization is good, but like if you're not sure it's going to work, it also every variable adds more risk to your campaign. So that's some of the advice I have here, but otherwise.
Do you think as well, because between those two videos, for example, like with Rita, the page is obviously your LinkedIn profile pops is there when you kind of open that. And do you think that kind of makes a big difference in terms of like someone as a hook, people are like, oh, that's my page, so I'm going to now like pay attention a bit more rather than just like a sort of, that's a more standard video. Like I imagine it kind of gets people like at least, because I see a lot of people doing it with their people's websites as well and that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's kind of hooks you in because it's something they know.
Yeah, and that's it. Like it's like it feels like, oh, they're talking about me. I'd say that's even like minimum personalization. Where I see people get really good with it is when they can tie it into their messaging. So like we have staffing companies that will reach out and like specifically show open jobs, or like we have some companies where or one customer, they sell a way to like add integrations into your product. And so they'll do it over the integration page and be like, hey, looks like you integrate with Salesforce, but not HubSpot. We can help you do that. So if you're able to like show something relevant, that's even better. In this, because this is kind of like a, more related to the values in the post engagement and that relevancy. I don't know how much their LinkedIn profile adds, but it's probably better than, I still decided to do it instead of a full screen video.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. And do you think like prospects are kind of aware that this is like, do you think people think that people are sat there and like making these personalized videos, or kind of do you think more people becoming aware that like actually it's probably not, or do you think actually people are not that clued up as of yet?
I think it depends who you sell to. Like if you're selling to sales tech, like
it's a fair point. Yeah, that's like, very true. Yeah.
But most people don't know. I also saw someone post on LinkedIn last week that they got a video that was from, this was yesterday actually, they posted that they received a video from Sendspark and could tell it was AI introed, but it was so relevant. They're like, this was great because it showed me what I wanted to see. So I think that's also something to keep in mind. It's like, the goal of this isn't to like trick someone like, I'm a human reaching out. That's not what people care about anyway. It's just to show. You can also make a dynamic video that doesn't say their first name, in which case, like, I don't know if they would, I don't know how they would know because it would be indistinguishable. I think the AI is never, you can always like be like, the lip sync was a little off.
Yeah, for sure. Do you see that's sorry, I kind of dropped on that. I was saying on that point, like you mentioned, kind of depending who you're selling to. So like, do you see certain industries? There's a couple of questions in the chat as well about real estate and some other industries. But do you think like certain industries are just better for video prospecting, and are there any industries that are put off massively by it, or what do you think? What have you seen just from both sides?
I don't know in terms of like effectiveness of the video message. I think that the bigger, like some industries are more likely to use video, like places where they might have like a sales team, like, like e-commerce doesn't use as much personalized video because like they're less likely to have like a sales team where people can like create the content. So I think that's the biggest industry difference. But I think it's really more of like a person difference than an industry, right? Like you talk to people and they're like, I would never watch a video. I read everything because you can read so much faster than you can watch. And then you see other people that like, I get all my news from YouTube. Like if I can't watch it, I don't want to see it. So I think, and you got to just know that like people are different and you might not even know until you know that person much better. Like I actually had a previous boss who was very into video because he was dyslexic. He's like, I find it so hard to read. Like I just want to watch it. And so I would say like when you're reaching out to people, it's just good to use multiple channels, like have a text message, have a video, maybe an audio message, like try different things.
Yeah, makes sense. There's a question here around sort of how can staffing companies use the power of Triggerfy and Sendspark? I would say, so Kalpesh, this is quite a good one for our social signals feature that's about to drop. So what you'd be able to do is, let's say you've got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 profiles of your like target prospects or the personal profiles. You'd be able to take that entire list, upload it into our social signals feature, and then monitor for any like certain keywords that they post about. So say if one of those people was like, we're hiring for a software developer or whatever, you could monitor that entire list to then see when the word hiring is used in any of the posts. And then you could from there obviously put them into a campaign, push them to Clay or whatever it may be, into Sendspark and say, hey, like, I see, Dave, that you're hiring for a software developer. Let's have a chat, basically. So that would be like kind of probably the best way to do it, which is, social signal feature is coming out at the end of the month, if anyone's interested, that Max demoed. So just as an FYI. One for you here, Bethany, sorry, from Leslie about the pronunciation of the name. What's best practices there?
We use the most popular pronunciation in your own accent. So we really we'd rather have you saying the name in your voice than a perfect pronunciation. Especially if the name is like a foreign name for you. So it'll pronounce it kind of perfectly, but use your accent. But because it'd be weird if you're like speaking and then you're like, hi, like Carlos with a perfect Colombian pronunciation, like that would be weird. So we'll try to balance the like right pronunciation with the authenticity of the accent. And it's pretty good. Like it's better than I am as a person. I've noticed like one of the people I saw Max was sharing was even as a human, I'm like, I don't like TiVo is someone I was on a webinar with recently, and I played the AI, and he's like, yeah, that sound like pronounced my name way better than you did because it's a French name, but I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
So it'll try to find that balance, but there's no way it's perfect, especially when like the same name can be pronounced different, like Alicia in Spanish versus Alicia in English. So it'll just kind of guess, but it'd be as good as you if you didn't actually know the person that you're reaching out to.
Fine. And out of interest, so like, because with social data, etc., like we're very focused on, not so much on volume, but being like, very focused on obviously like their engagement and kind of finding these like hyper targeted people that you can kind of reach out to. Like with your customers, like do you see people using this at massive scale, or is it kind of more for sort of very like focused targeted lists, or like what are you seeing across your customer base?
I will say just in general with AI videos, it's more commonly used for some type of scalar automation. We also have a video messaging feature that's more like similar to Loom and Vidyard. And so for people that are like super high touch, like you're going to be doing that. Like you're not going to be, the only reason to use the AI is because there's some semblance of scale. I do see that the best success is when it's more like cohort lists. So it's not like 10,000 of people are getting the same video, but it's like you've divided those 10,000 people into roles and titles and use cases. And then maybe there's like 400 to 600 on that actual list. So it's still scaled, but it's like targeted based on like social signals or, job title or just something, about the person you're reaching out to. I don't know if there's a term for that. I feel like that's something that you would see like sales influence talk about like micro personalization or
micro super hyper targeted extra special personalization. Oh, funny. Okay, we've got a couple more questions. In terms of data around video versus text, we kind of touched on this already, but like that uplift, we saw that you were getting sort of close to 30%, which I would say is, considerably higher than you would just like standard email.
Yeah, and actually, I think I have a way to, if I still have it open, I can show the AI videos versus like no videos. It was funny. Some of our no videos were like no replies at all. So I think looking at just a bunch of our campaigns, at least, it's like the difference is like 5% from like LinkedIn outreach without video versus like the 25 to 30. So that'd be like 5 times improvement. I don't think everyone's seeing that. But people are a big difference. And sometimes the percentages sound stupid too, because they're like, they got 1 reply without video and then they added a video and then 12 people reply and you're like 1,200%. But it's, but it's just, sometimes it's the difference between it working or not working. And, or like, going from like around a 1% reply rate to like 5 or 10 for email, where you'd expect to see a little bit lower.
And I guess there's with sort of using video, etc. Like there's a whole process of kind of like critiquing the content, the script, like how you use it, etc. Because I guess like even like one word can turn people off, and then you're gone. So it's really trying to make try and optimize that as much as possible, because it can make a big difference.
Well, is we'll show you the analytics of where people drop off. So going through some of our older campaigns, been like grabbing this data here because some of these have been running for a bit, or we're running, I don't know, done. And some of these were actually like super long, like 5 minutes, because it was like a full product demo basically, for the self-service outreach. And then you can, okay, everyone's dropping off around a minute. Like, let me now rephrase and make it like a minute or 2 minutes. So I think like it is a constant refinement, just like with email, and also because things change. Like, I do think that it was more acceptable to say, like, I saw you liked a post maybe even 3 months ago, and then maybe now you want it to be a little bit more nuanced in your outreach because people are getting a lot of people that say, I saw a post. So it's like, one, you're going to get like, you're going to improve because you're doing it more. And then two, like just the world kind of shifts and you got to use modern messaging. So I'd say you're always going to be changing stuff, but as long as you can get the data and then like tweak based on that too.
Yeah, because what like it's a good point actually, because like one of the things that like we've kind of switched and focused on in terms of like our outbound has been really kind of, so we like monitor Adam Robinson from our B2B, and obviously that tool is complementary to us, shall we say, in terms of audience, but not like competitive. And so we, rather than being like, hey, I saw you liked Adam Robinson's post, when we pull that engagement, we say like, you know, I'm interested to get your thoughts on like the rise of website identification tools, because obviously our B2B was the first, and then it's kind of exploded. And then obviously what, you know, Max said like, oh, you should check out Adam Robinson, and then it kind of, you know, I get these massive essays people write me about website identification, how much they do or don't like it. It's really quite funny. And then obviously like that point of reference with Adam, and then you kind of like, you know, and especially if, you know, Adam's quite big, obviously a lot of people know him, but like, you know, especially if you're in a more niche area and you can kind of name drop someone that possibly, you know, they're only someone in that niche would know, it does super well. So yeah, it's just a little, it's just trying to spark a conversation, I find, because that whole like, I saw you like Dave's post, you know, it's pretty disingenuous. So just trying to figure out these little nuances that can work.
Yeah.
Something from Leslie as well. Can you proof a video draft when you have varying names? How does that work?
And actually I'll make one because Lucas just asked about how to do the integrations page. So I can show you like quickly how you would actually set this up. Also for current Sendspark customers, you might have noticed this is a new UI that we're releasing like hopefully today or Monday. And so it looks a little different, but this is how things are going to look soon. So what you would do is, I'm just using the demo video. You can add your video here. You can test the AI. Hi, Bethany. Toggle on off the dynamic background. And let me just add a fallback. And then you go through, add the landing page. I have a template saved, so this is pretty quick. And then Lucas asked about using the integrations page as the background. So like what I would do is say like, put Lucas in first name. If you're going to send out an email or LinkedIn, you can add in these fields, and these are optional. And then for the background, I'm just going to do our integrations page, which is this. And so where did that go? And then you can just hit generate videos. And so then what happens is all of your videos are going to appear here. And so you can preview this and just be like, hey, did that sound good? And if it doesn't, then you can make any edits or like re-record before sending it out. When you actually send it out as well, for email, you could for LinkedIn, you could just download the list or use Clay or some automation tool for it. And then for email, we have a bunch of email share options. You would copy this like snippet, and then you paste it in email, and it's a dynamic placeholder. And then every person that gets enrolled is going to get that video for them. So the same way you could use like first name, company name, etc., and templates. And I'll just give it like, that was like maybe 20 more seconds, and I can post this in the chat. You can see this video.
Nice. Cool. Any other questions from anyone? Do drop them in. So we'll come up to time. But in terms of anyone, obviously you just mentioned there's a UI feature coming out. Any other sort of exciting stuff coming up in 2025 from a release perspective that you guys are working on at the moment?
Sorry, I was pasting the video. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no worries. Oh, there you go. You're right there.
And then Calpitch asked if it worked for LinkedIn messages. It does. Like what it is you share the link, and then it pulls up a little preview. And so you see that, and then you can click and watch the full video. I also just realized I shared all that, and I didn't share how you actually demo, or test the videos, which was the point. But when the videos are done, they show up here. And so then you can just preview that. I just generating. I'm not really. And then make sure that sounds good. And then, sorry, you were asking about upcoming things?
Yeah, just in terms of your roadmap for the year, like what does that look like? What kind of, you've obviously mentioned you've got a new UI just about to drop, but what anything else exciting that you kind of want to kind of mention?
New UI coming really soon. Yeah, and I'm very excited about it. I just feel like it streamlines the process so much. And then the big thing we've been working on is more integrations and automation, so that you can easily string Sendspark together with other things that you're doing. So like, you've identified that it's like a high quality lead in Trigify. automatically create the video, automatically send it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this is like possible right now, but you just have to be pretty tech savvy to use it. And our goal is to make it so freaking simple that anyone can do it, even if you've never automated anything in your life. And just like give you the playbooks for success and keep those fresh because it does keep changing. So that's what a big chunk of our product team's working on right now.
Nice, very exciting. Cool. All right. Well, there's no other questions. Oh yeah, Piers has dropped our Slack channel in the group. So if anyone's interested in Triggerify as well, and sort of combining the two powers that are Sendspark and Triggerify together, do join our Slack channel. We can sort of answer any questions and kind of give you sort of any advice, etc., on how to best you find people. Well, best find people based on their engagement, and then push to Sendspark, and then book 100,000 meetings, and happy days for everyone. Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much, Bethany. Thanks for your time. It's been great. I think there's going to be some really exciting stuff for everyone here, and hopefully, I think we're going to start using a few more plays, and looking forward to the UI change as well. So, thanks so much for your time. Thanks everyone for joining. It's been a real pleasure having you all here, and see you soon.
All right. See you. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Bethany. Bye bye.